Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Steve Hess, Director of User Experience for OpenBOM. I'd like to welcome you all to the webinar. I see some familiar names as well as some new ones, so thanks to new folks for joining and the folks that are returning. Could someone please just kind of maybe throw a message in the chat there, let me know that you can hear me okay? I'll kind of keep an eye out in there as we get started. Okay, I see a few more people arriving. All right. Well, thanks again for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, if someone could just throw a message in the chat that you can hear me, I would appreciate that. Okay. Looks like we're getting through. So today's webinar is about data migration. Why it's hard. It doesn't have to be hard. And more specifically, how do you move from Excel to a cloud solution for your bills of material? So we're going to try to keep this today 20 minutes or less, and we're going to have a discussion. I will be taking questions along the way. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat about how to break out of Excel hell, as we call it, and move on to something a little more modern, cloud-based method for managing your bills of material. Most of this will be about a live demo. I try to keep it interesting, and as always, I'm going to do my best to try to keep this from keep it a marketing-free type of an event. So let's screen catch up here. Okay. So as always, we just kind of start with a couple of definitions. I'm not going to dwell on this. We will share this webinar along with any of the related materials later on YouTube, and we'll share it out to you as attendees. And, a few things that we want to be familiar with, part numbers, assemblies, multi-level BOM. That's something that we will discuss today. It's often referred to as an indented BOM, sometimes a structured BOM. And the context of this webinar today, Excel is going to refer to any kind of a spreadsheet tool. I think most of us are using Excel. Some may be using Google Sheets. Some could be using anything from the past. So we will discuss the context of Excel, but it'll apply to pretty much any spreadsheet-based system. So what we're going to cover in this webinar is, why a little bit of history about why we're using Excel and why we like it. Maybe some of those things that we don't like in Excel. Maybe that's what brought you to today's webinar, and what it's like to break free of Excel, and how we can, what sort of benefit that's going to give to you and your company and your colleagues. So we'll be going over that into today's webinar. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep the pace moving and have plenty of time for questions at the end as well. So what are the things we like about Excel? Why has Excel been a great metaphor for bills of material? And I think that's pretty simple. We've always thought about the bill of material in the context of these properties and columns, and with rows and columns, and it just fit nicely into the spreadsheet frame. So consequently, that's really what I think, at least for me, what was the majority of my resistance to moving off of it was I just love that experience. It's easy to move around. My tab keys worked. I loved formatting data, dates and times, and all of those types of things. Currencies and number of decimals and all that. Loved all that. Loved formulas. And of course, what we really love about it is, as long as computers are the modern era, it's always been available and accessible. So those are some of the things, at least for me, that I really liked about Excel and what was attractive about it. So let's take a look at some of the things we don't like about Excel. Again, some of the things that we might have driven you to today's webinar. And, gosh, dealing with files is hard. That's, I don't need to go through and enumerate all the issues around files permissions, and whether it's on the right computer, and all of those things. You all know what those are. For the most part, most of the data in a spreadsheet is dumb. If I have part number 123 on line 10 of my BOM and part number 123 on line 20, if I change it on line 10, I got to go find it and change it on line 20. So that's always been, an issue. It's really just a text list, and there's a number, all the other things that make it hard to manage sheets and other things. And I know that that we're all thinking about this one. I never really know if I'm on the latest one. Have I emailed the final latest version to my colleague? And again, working in groups is hard. Multi-level BOMs, that's something that we are going to come back to. Most of us are kind of advancing to a place where many of our bills of material are represented in multi-level. Most every product I see designed today has a circuit board in it. A circuit board has its own bill of materials. And so you often see this, few items at the top, and then some structure, underneath it. And there just isn't a good way to do that with a spreadsheet. Most of us do it with individual spreadsheets and then try to knit them together. And then finally, if you've tried, once you build that structure, rolling up costs from lower levels to the top. I mean, heck, just summing up the cost for your product can be hard. If you've got 2 of some item, or 10, or 31 of some screw down at some level and then a few at some other level, it's hard to kind of pull those aggregate costs together. And then another thing, at least for me, that I didn't like about Excel that kind of kept me on it was, gosh darn it, it's available and accessible. Every time I tried to do something else, I always came back to Excel just frankly because it was easy and convenient. So a few things at the end of this webinar, some of the things I think we want to have accomplished. We want to kind of remove this file barrier, this idea of, of keeping our data in a file. We want to have some thought about smarter part numbers and references, maybe not creating duplicates. The issue of having the latest would be nice if that wasn't an issue. Sure, I'd like to keep track of versions of my bill of material for historic purposes. I had 5 of some item in version 3, and now I've got 8 of them in version 5, or revision, whatever we like to call it. And I'd like to make it easy to share with my colleagues. I'd like to be able to represent a multi-level BOM. And finally, I really would like to crack that problem of rolling up costs or mass or lead times or any other thing that I'm keeping track of. How do I roll it up to the top of my product? And again, at the end of this webinar, what we discuss, we want it to be available and accessible. So let's talk a little bit about. Let me set the stage a little bit for a demo. We're going to start here in just a minute. I'm going to take sort of 2 use cases in mind. We're going to build a bill of material from a air conditioning heating fan unit, and it's going to have multi-levels, part numbers, and some costs. This is going to be coming from an Excel spreadsheet that my company, that I and my company have spent quite a lot of time developing. It's got multi-levels. We'll see that there's a way that I use a certain format to denote what level I'm on, and I've keyed in a whole bunch of data. This BOM is really important to me and my company. I've done a lot of work on it. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to take a list of items, a slightly different approach, but many of us keep a master spreadsheet that has just all the parts that we use in our company. So we're going to use an example from I want to thank a friend, Mark Schellman in Germany, who is creating an open source 3D printer. I want to thank him for this big list of parts. We're going to bring that into OpenBOM and show how we can use that to build our bills of material. So those are the 2 things that we want to take a look at, and then we will just kind of jump into some Q&A. So, 1 second. Okay. Okay, so what I've done, I've opened OpenBOM, which is an online cloud-based inventory management tool. It's not going to be a sales pitch about OpenBOM. We're just going to use this for the demo. There may be other tools that you can use to do, do things similar. So the first part of our demo is to take a look at that AC blower. So let's just take a look at the Excel for that AC blower. Sort of my card. Now, let's see if I can. One moment. I'm going to change my display settings and they help some of you out. Apologize if some of you are seeing this sort of small right now. I'm going to see if I can improve that. Okay, well, if we're seeing it small, my apologies. So this is a bill of material. I think you can get a sense of it, of the blower, all of its bits and pieces, and I've also included in this all the various. This is some tubing that goes along with how we cut the various pieces for the various legs that are in there. So this is a BOM that I built along with my colleagues. It has all the information in it that we use. I hope you can see I use a particular syntax right here. Here I'm showing the tubing. And then up at the top, in rows 5 through 17, I'm showing that I use a syntax I think that many of us might use to denote multi-levels, so 3.1, 3.2, or 5.1, etc. And then even down here in lines 13 through 15, I show even a second level sub-level. So this is one of the popular ways that people denote multi-levels in Excel. I also need to do a little bit of cleanup because I see that I've included some text in my in some of the units. So I just do a little bit of cleanup here, kind of get this ready to bring this into OpenBOM. The story that we want to tell here is that we can get out of editing this in Excel and bring this as a bill of material straight into OpenBOM. Let's just do that now. I'm just going to use the import BOM command. And I'm going to choose that blower and import it. And so this is in OpenBOM's create import BOM. And what I see immediately is a multi-level bill of material. This is exactly as it was, as it was typed. What is most interesting to me, anyway, is that my multi-level bills of material have been broken out in OpenBOM, and even down here for that to that tubing list that I included. I have all the individual tubings there in their quantities. So I want to pay attention here. We've got 28, 38 of these. Here's the price per foot. So I brought in the cost of my BOM with the unit prices. How can we turn this into something a little more interesting now that I'm using this in more of a modern tool? Let's take a look at something called extended cost. What's that about? Extended cost. I'm going to define a property now for extended cost, a formula that is going to be cost times quantity. So I'm using an OpenBOM feature to create a formula, very much like I would do in Excel. Cost times quantity. Well, the interesting part is that with OpenBOM, I'm pushing this down through the various levels, and I'm saying, look, that the price of this subassembly here is the sum of the cost of all of its individual parts. That's the roll-up feature that you can do in a cloud-based tool such as OpenBOM. So, but finally, if I want to know what the cost is for my total product, I say enable totals for that column, display totals. And here we are, $254. So that gets me out of the Excel business for bills of material, brings me into a modern place where I can add properties to do more complex calculations, roll up costs to the cost and other things. This could be mass or anything else. You can roll those up to the top level. I can leave that other Excel behind. I can also, if I make changes to that Excel at some point in the future, I can use the import command here to import those changes back into this bill of material. Okay. Right, so that kind of takes us through the first example, which is bringing in a BOM that I have in Excel. Let's just jump right into the next one. The next one is a parts list. This may be the list of things that you keep in your company. Now, in this example, again, a colleague of mine and I and others in the company have spent quite a bit of time producing a spreadsheet that has all the parts that we use in our company. We went the extra mile and went and got images of the parts. Maybe we got them from CAD or some other places or off the internet. And we also added some other properties, other features to this, like labor for European and USA labor. We've added those as items. Some people might think of this as an item master. So we've got this catalog of all the bits and pieces that go into our open source 3D printer in this case. If in a typical scenario, if I was building a bill of material, I'd start a new sheet. I'd go and I'd copy each one of these lines from here, and I'd copy and paste it in my bill of material. So let's take a look at that workflow. What's the first thing that we need to do? Well, let's bring this into OpenBOM. This is a slightly different workflow. We're going to import a catalog in this case, and OpenBOM refers to catalogs or item lists as catalogs. So let's bring in that source printer. We have it. We'll bring that in. Okay. So here is the catalog in OpenBOM of all the parts that I keep in my item master in Excel. Okay, this is great. I've got cost. I can start adding other properties if I wish in here, bin locations and lead times and things, and I can easily add those. Let's just go ahead and throw something in here. Maybe the bin location. And this is the type of thing where you put, maybe some bin locations in your company. We'll just copy those down here. So a few items. Okay. So now I'm ready to build a bill of material for my next printer. We've already built one. We're getting ready to do another one. I've got an item master here, and it's time to build a new BOM. I said typically I would have to go and copy each one of those lines out of that item master into my bill of material, kind of organize them. let's see if there's a better way. Let's create a new BOM. Our open source printer 1001. And let's just assign this catalog that we just created. And let OpenBOM bring us to the create new BOM. So what are some of the things that are going into my next printer? Well, I know that I'm going to need a nozzle. Bam, all that comes in. Based on the part number, I bring in all the information from my catalog. Great. This is, let's do another one. Let's add, what are some of the other things that I'm going to need? Of course, I would go through this and I'd build out, all the items that went in this particular bill of material. And this becomes my process for building a BOM. And as you can see, I can move that on and on. If I need structure in this BOM, I can, in OpenBOM, I can move to multi-level, and I can just simply say, hey, look, that item belongs under that. So now I have a sublevel that's expandable, pricing, and all my information in there. So I go ahead and I finish out and I build this BOM out. And then finally, I can share this bill of material using Google-esque type sharing with any of my colleagues. So that's it. I would like to ask if there's any questions. I have a few references as well that I would like to leave you with. And just kind of some closing thoughts. There's some nice information in, this is the 18th in a series of webinars, earlier webinars on the essentials of BOMs you might find useful. There's a video on multi-level Excels in the cloud and how you might bring those from Excel to the cloud. Nice article here by these guys on 6 points to consider before managing your next BOM in Excel. I like that. Might just kind of take a look at that. It's kind of thought-provoking. And then our blogs and some other information. If you want to learn more about Mark Shulman and his open source 3D printer, I've also got a link to that too. So we're good on time. I'd like to ask if there's any questions, if you would like to either type them in into the questions area or in the chat. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about the video resolution. I'll see if I can correct that when I share the video. Yeah, we will, and I'll include the other reference material as well. Okay. Okay, so the question is here that again, what happens if I update my company keeps their catalog master in Excel, and what happens when that updates? Great question. Let's go back and look at this master here. Maybe we brought this in. Looks like we've currently got USA labor is 15 and EU labor is $12 an hour. Let's see if we can change this to, let's see, everybody gets a nice raise. We're going to update we're going to update this Excel. In other words, right, my company's still stuck on Excel, but I've moved my it says to my item master in the cloud. What happens when my company updates? Okay. So we just saw the company just updated their Excel. Let's take a look at ours. Still says 15. Let's run another import from that Excel. We know that it's been changed. I get a message that says, hey, look, you're bringing in some data. You want to put it somewhere where that data already exists. What do you want to do? And some confirmation. Yeah, I definitely want to update and append that. And Let's see if so we didn't, sorry about that. We didn't get the updated price because I did the classic Excel thing. I forgot to save the Excel file. But anyway, that's what you would do. You would save the Excel file, which I did not do, and you'd update the catalog in OpenBOM. So yeah, I won't take the time to do that, but I'll try to add that to example at the end when we publish the video. Okay, I want to thank again. I want to thank everybody for their time. I love hearing from you. Support at openbom.com. Again, my name is Steve Hess. I'm the Director of User Experience at OpenBOM, and it's been a pleasure spending the last 30 minutes with you. So enjoy and have a great day.